Welcome to How to Make It in the City, a show where we explore both the practical and spiritual aspects of making it. This show is for artists, entrepreneurs, dreamers, and visionaries who are determined to end the cycle of working soul-crushing jobs just to pay bills. This is where we learn how to live our mission while making a great living. This is where we learn how to do well by doing good. This is where we learn how to step into our divine calling while entering a space of financial freedom and abundance. I'm your host, Karikari-Yawson. In August of 2015, I quit my six-figure salary day job as a corporate lawyer to step into my purpose of healing through storytelling. Now I travel the country, performing my stories, such as my debut book, Sune's Gift, while facilitating presentations and training sessions for schools, universities, governments, and corporations. Loved ones, it has been quite a bumpy ride, and I have a long way to go. But let's figure this out. Let's figure out how to make it in this city together. Today, during this session, we're going to delve deeper into this idea of making it. What does it mean to make it, especially in this city? To help us with this question, we have Andre Taylor of Taylor Insight. Andre Taylor is an influential force in this modern era of entrepreneurship. Grounded in decades of real business building experience, he regularly appears on television, radio, in print, and online as an expert in entrepreneurship, most notably as a regular contributor to ABC News, Money Matters, presenting an artful blend of practical business tips along with the psychology of entrepreneurship. An entrepreneur since 1978, starting his first venture as a teenager, Andre has launched and grown unique and successful businesses from Wall Street to Main Street in media, marketing, and management consulting. Andre's motto, rich life, flourishing business. On your terms. It's his guiding principle for his many entrepreneur clients. Welcome, Andre Taylor. How are you today?
I'm great. You know how to do that bio, don't you?
Thank you. I make you sound good, but it's easy because you've done a lot. So, Andre, thanks so much for being here, first of all. And I want you to please let me and let the audience know all about your journey with respect to becoming the author and entrepreneur and motivational speaker. And you wear so many hats, but tell us how you got here.
Well, you know, it's interesting. I always wanted to do what I'm doing today. And it is incredible. It's a thrill to do it. But, it was something I always wanted to do. And it shows you that if you hold fast to your dreams, you stay committed to them, you believe in them, even if you take detours, you can get there. As you mentioned, I was an entrepreneur when I was a teenager. Yeah. And that was because one day, it was a Sunday afternoon, I was at home in Brooklyn, looking around some books in my house, and I was bored. And I opened up a book, and it said the people who are most successful in the world were either salespeople or entrepreneurs. And I said, okay, that's for me. And I decided right then and there that I was going to be an entrepreneur. In fact, when I was 8 years old, I sent away, got some garden seeds, and I started to go door to door selling those garden seeds until I met a German Shepherd who told me showed me I needed a different plan. But I wound up in a lot of things happened. I wound up in corporate America, and then decided I had to leave like you to fulfill my dreams.
What were you doing in corporate America?
Well, I wound up in corporate America because I had a fire in a apartment. We had moved from Brooklyn to Queens, and we had a fire in the apartment while I was in college. And even though I wanted to start a business right then, I think I was in my early 20s then, I realized I had to go out and get a job. So I got a job on Wall Street.
Okay.
And
what was your title? What were you doing?
I got a job on Wall Street working in a credit department. I was a credit investigator at first. And I worked at Irving Trust Company. It doesn't exist anymore. In fact, I just saw that One Wall Street is going to turn into residences. Beautiful building on Wall Street. But I wound up there in banking, and then later in the brokerage business, and then later in media, and I ultimately was vice president of marketing and sales for Reuters Television. Reuters, a news agency. So I did all that before becoming an entrepreneur full time, but I was always dabbling in entrepreneurship, even on the weekend.
Okay, and so tell us when you decided to make that leap to full time. How did that happen?
I made the leap full time. It's interesting. I was doing seminars on the weekend in the 80s, and I was trying some ideas that I had developed in the 70s about personal development and professional development and all that. And I realized as I was doing these seminars, oh my goodness, I can do this.
Yeah, and you loved it.
And I loved it. And I remember doing those seminars, and I remember the first one I did was at the Lowe's Summit Hotel. It's not called that anymore, but it was on 53rd and Lexington Avenue. I think it's a DoubleTree now or something. And I remember at the end of that seminar, it was on the weekend, and I was getting on the subway going back to Queens where I lived at the time. And I could have floated back home because I felt so good about the opportunity to do this work. And I said, oh my goodness, I can do this. And so I decided that my plan then was to figure out the right way to get out of corporate America. It took me a while to commit to that full time.
Okay.
It wasn't until the 90s, the early 90s, that I made that decision. And I made that decision because I found myself getting a little too ambitious in corporate America. And I realized as I was doing that, I said, wow, if I don't take this leap now, I'm never going to do it. Okay. The way it happened actually is we hired a consultant to help us look at how we could move into new businesses at Reuters. And that consultant was working closely with me. And one of the studies we did was what was going to happen in the sports industry as a result of digital technology. This fellow was a big sports fan. I wasn't so much of a big sports fan, but I was intrigued by this idea. And as we started to research it, I became enamored with the idea of building a business like this. We presented this proposal to Reuters, and they said, we'll pass on it. We don't think this is the right direction for us now. Mm-hmm. And there was so much research that we had developed in that process that this consultant and I looked at each other and said, why don't we do it together? And we were sitting in a diner on 6th Avenue near the Hilton Hotel, and we both agreed that this was the time for us to go into business full time.
What were your obligations, your financial obligations at the time?
Oh, my. Well, it's never the right time. You always have expenses. You always have obligations. You never feel you're quite ready. So I had, like you, a really nice salary. I was flying around the world. I had a beautiful office overlooking Rockefeller Center, and I kind of liked that stuff. And expense account. I had just bought a house on Long Island. I had a baby on the way.
Wow.
And it felt to me like this was not the right time to do this. But there was something pulling at me that said, hey, if I don't do this, I may never do it. So I can remember I was sitting, it was Thanksgiving. I was sitting at dinner with my family. And I said to everyone, well, it won't be long before I leave corporate America. And everyone had their head down in the gravy. wondering what I was talking about. What is he talking about? And I remember I was talking about the opportunity and how excited I was and what we were going to be doing and the research and all that, because we were researching this idea while I was in corporate America. And I remember my brother talking under his breath, and he said, well, I sure hope you are. I sure hope you know what you're doing.
Wow.
But I decided that was the time, and I made the leap.
With a baby on the way and a brand new mortgage as your expense. Okay.
A big mortgage.
A big mortgage. Yeah. A big mortgage. What were some of the challenges you experienced? What were some of the low points? What were some of the highs?
Well, the big challenge was that we really didn't have the capital to do what was required, and we underestimated how involved it was going to be to do this. The business that we identified was creating tools that would help coaches analyze player performance. And I have to tell you, I'm sitting around watching March Madness these days, and I'm seeing all this NCAA basketball, and I'm remembering those days when we were researching, going team to team, and I was sitting with a company that recorded every game that was played during the month of March so that they could dispatch these tapes via UPS. For those who don't realize, it's United Parcel Service.
Yes.
They actually dropped this stuff in the mail. They didn't email it. That didn't exist
at
then.
that time, yeah.
Dropped it in the mail. And in the NFL, there's a requirement that not only do you want to record video so you can analyze it for your upcoming performance, but you have to exchange it with other teams. It's sort of a cooperative. And so we recognized that digital technology would help them do that. The problem is we didn't have any technology. We didn't have any capital. We didn't have the resources to do this. We just had an idea.
Yeah.
So my job was to figure out how we were going to execute without these resources. And I was young.
While living, because the baby still has to eat. The mortgage,
Baby
I hope,
still has
to get paid.
And Papa has to eat. And Mama has to eat. And lights have to stay on. And all those things,
and it wasn't like, I mean, had you saved a lot of money before this jump?
I hate to tell you this, but we spent all our money on Wall Street.
Wow.
We had good times, and
oh my!
And it's interesting because I just thought that there was a way we could pull this off. I was in sales.
This was like blind faith to a certain extent. But then again, you had been in sales, so you kind of had some confidence in your own ability. Okay, so you're there, you have this partner who had done research with you, you have this great idea, which will just help some of these teams do really well because it's going to analyze player performance. You have a dream, you have a baby, you have a wife, you have a mortgage. It's low because funds are low. So the rough points were probably the funds being low, correct?
Yeah. The low points were that we really didn't know what the path was to do this.
Sure.
We knew what the problem was.
Yeah.
We didn't know how to solve the problem. And we were running out of money. And
quickly,
we were using credit cards. We were using whatever cash we had. It got so bad that there were times when I would put a $20 bill in a FedEx envelope and send it to my partner who at the time had moved to Vermont. And he would do the same thing for me over the weekend so we could eat.
Wow.
And I was in a situation where I just didn't know how this was going to happen. And we got together one year. This went for a period of time into the next year. We got together at the beginning of the year, met in a hotel, a banquet room with our unpaid interns and people who really believed in this idea and said, we got to make this work. We got to figure out how to make this work. So we had an all-day strategy session.
This is like a mastermind, right?
With
the whole team.
It was like a mastermind.
Great.
And the outcome of that session was, Andre, you got to sell this thing.
Yeah.
You got to find someone to sell this to. You got to find someone to put some money into this opportunity and lift us.
Okay, great.
I looked around because there was no one else that could do this. My partner was not a salesperson. The folks who were there in the company with us were just out of college, barely. And so I was determined to come back home, to go in my basement, to get on the phone, and to call big companies, to tell them about the opportunity we had, and to sell them on the idea of being our partner.
Okay.
And
how did you come up with these target companies? Were these companies that were interested in sports, or who were these target companies?
I just thought about every company I could. I looked in magazines.
Okay.
I looked in these were companies that I knew had technical capabilities.
Okay.
So we had decided as part of this process that we needed hardware companies, software companies, telecommunication companies or phone companies, that we needed hardware, software, and a network. So I was essentially going down the list. Who were the companies out there? Looking through Fortune magazine, looking through Forbes magazine, looking through Inc. magazine, reading the New York Times, figuring out who I could talk to, and realized that I had to sell this. So I got on the phone every day, made the calls.
Just hustling. Just sheer sheer presenting skills, sheer sales, figuring out who to call and hoping for a big break.
And dealing with lots of rejection.
And dealing with lots
of
rejection.
Lots of rejection. No, we don't want it. No, we don't want it. And trying to come up out of that basement and walk around the corner and drive around the neighborhood to shake it off.
Yeah.
And one day I came back to my phone, realized I had a message, and it was a company calling to saying, what you've described sounds really interesting.
Wow.
Can you folks fly out and present to us?
And you're like, oh,
I was shocked. I said, is this a buddy of mine calling?
Pranking
is
you.
this a cousin? Who is it?
Because you have been hearing, like, how many rejections at this point? 50? 60?
Oh my goodness.
More?
Hundreds.
Hundreds
of rejections.
by that time.
I was calling all kinds of companies, cable companies.
Yeah,
anybody. While I was in corporate America, one of the things that I was doing was helping the company move from a transition from cable television, because we had a cable service at Reuters, to other services. And so I was familiar with cable companies. So I said, why don't
And did you have those contacts? Because I'm assuming you're not calling and speaking to the receptionist. You're able to somehow get to somebody with decision-making power? Or no?
I was calling in, pitching, calling into departments cold, asking to speak to the VP of this or that or the other.
Yeah.
I was calling CEO's office. I was just calling, trying to cut through.
Okay, so great. So you get this message, time to fly out. Tell us what happens.
We fly out to this company, and we had nothing other than a PowerPoint presentation, and some ideas we were going to present. And we presented to this team. It was a multimedia department of a telecommunications company, and they gathered and they listened intently to what we had to say. And they were excited about it. And I just couldn't believe it. I said, oh, my goodness.
Someone is excited. As excited as I am. Someone who has money.
And, we were flying out there, and my partner and I were wondering, okay, well, what do we ask them for?
Yeah.
Because we're going to need millions to do this. We don't even know how to spend it, but we're going to need millions to do it. Well, we decided that we were going to ask them for a significant amount. And right after I did my presentation, my partner looked at me and he kind of nodded, thinking, okay, this must be the time to ask for that amount.
Okay.
And I boldly, brazenly said to the group, now I've presented what we can do for you, but we'd like to hear what you can do for us. Mm-hmm. And it was interesting because prior to that, they had said to us, what would it take for us to participate in this? Mm-hmm. And so we knew that they were eager and saw the opportunity. And there's something important, there's an important lesson here to understand about corporate America. Corporate America needs small companies. They need entrepreneurs with ideas. They need people to come in, give them a different perspective, to show them what's happening on the ground, because when you're in corporate America, you're listening to the same ideas all the time.
Yeah.
And even though you've got the money, you've got the resources, you've got the brand, you don't always have the best ideas. The bottom line is, we left that meeting without asking them for the money that we wanted, but we put together a proposal after they had presented what they could do for us, and I used that information that they gave to us to write a compelling proposal to ask them for millions of dollars, which they didn't give our number, but they gave us enough to change our life.
Wow. And so that was the breakthrough.
That was the breakthrough. In about a few months after that, we started getting those beautiful wire transfers.
Wow.
And we didn't have to do those $20 bills.
No more FedExing $20 bills so that you can eat lunch and so the baby can have some diapers. Well, people, you're hearing the story, okay? So Andre knows from experience that humble beginnings can lead to great things. He, to a certain extent, I would say then, has made it, right? And now I want you to put on your coach, personal success, leadership hat and tell us what for you making it means. What does that mean for you?
Well, one of the reasons why I struggled and ultimately left corporate America is because I wanted to to become all that I can be. I know that's used to be a
the army slogan.
Yeah. But it's true. I mean, it the idea of not pursuing the opportunity and not fulfilling my capabilities.
Yeah.
That scares me more than anything.
Wow.
The idea that I might at some point reach the end of my life and I didn't go for it. Mm-hmm. I'm fine if I go for something and for some reason I fall short and I've done everything I can. But if I don't go for it, I just can't live with that.
Wow.
And so making it to me is being able to look at yourself and say, I've got more potential. I'm going for it. I'm living up to that. And I'm doing everything I can to maximize my existence on this earth.
We got to repeat this, people. Making it is getting to a point where you say, I'm giving all that I have to give, and I'm maximizing my potential on this earth. Mm-hmm. I think it's a beautiful definition. And so tell us why the vast majority of people aren't, I would say, making it. They're not going after using all of their natural inherent abilities, bringing everything to the table and maximizing their full potential. Why exactly would I say most people are using very, very little of their full potential? Why is that going on?
Because they're not listening to their instincts and impulses. One of the things that I guess is a subtext of what we're talking about is finding your passion. Mm-hmm. And how do you do that? And I think that is it's an issue that in some ways is overplayed or overanalyzed today, because my passion was helping other people succeed through entrepreneurship and being able to deconstruct what makes a business work and figuring out how to apply that in bigger and bigger ways. I knew that when I was 10 years old.
Mm-hmm. Selling those seeds and whatnot.
I knew that when I was 10 years old.
Yeah.
But the idea was, how do I do that? How do I have the courage to take the step and do that? I think most people understand what it is they should be doing on this earth early, but they let the world talk them out of it.
Okay.
And so most people, I don't think, are performing at the level where they should be, because they believe they have to have this degree or this certification or be in this field that is promising or pays a lot of money, and they don't trust their natural instincts. I could have been doing what I've been doing now a long time ago. But the issue is, did I trust my ability to do that?
Okay, I want to rehash for the people listening, because this is very important. So Andre is telling us that the reason why the vast majority of people are not making it, the reason why they are not maximizing their full potential, coming into their full purpose, giving all that they have to give, and we believe we give what we get, right? Or we get what we give. So therefore, getting it all is because they are not listening to their true instincts, their guts, their intuition. They are instead allowing the fears of the world to a certain extent, cut their passion and eliminate their dreams. This is really key. Now, the fears and the definitions, because everyone says that the way you should make it is to do this, that, or the other. Okay. That we're actually taught not to trust our instincts. I heard someone I know said, "Oh my goodness, I wanted my daughter to go to law school, and she's not even doing that. She's not even focused on that. She's focused on filmmaking. I can't believe it. She's focused on filmmaking. That's her passion.
Guess what? She might turn out to be a great filmmaker.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, so now you said something about people making up excuses. I don't have the right certifications. I don't have the right this, however that. We're trying to make it in this city, which, as you are aware, is a very, very tough place. Let's give some statistics, because many people are going to say this is not an environment where we can make it. According to a recent CUNY study, the upper 20% of all household income earners in New York City controlled 48% of total household income in 1990. And then more recently in 2010, 54%. Whereas During the same periods, the lower 20% of all households experience a slight decline from owning or controlling about 3.3% to 3%. So we're living in a time in the United States, and especially in New York City, of vast income inequality. Many people do not have capital. They feel disenfranchised. They feel as if the opportunities are not awaiting. They're saying, oh, hey, that's Andre speaking. He at least had a decent job at Wall Street that even allowed him to purchase a house in Manhattan, in Long Island, et cetera, et cetera. Easy for you to say, but the vast majority of us are too busy struggling with the day-to-day obligations of just living hand to mouth, trying to put food on the table, and there's absolutely no way we can make it. There's no way we can maximize our full potential. We're not even, Maslow's hierarchy of needs. We're not even in that echelon, that space. What do you say to those people, Andre?
Well, you said the key word. They feel that way.
Okay.
And that's the thing that we've got to fix, is what our feelings are. I felt that I could succeed. I felt that if I applied myself to building a business, that would work. The thing I haven't mentioned to you is all through high school, I worked from midnight to 8 in the morning and then went to high school. Because I felt that being connected to an entrepreneur was going to help me. I felt that I should start my own company, but I was working on a business plan and it burnt up in the fire before digital technology.
Oh, the house fire you had in Queens.
It was out the window. When I came back to that apartment to see where my notes were, they were outside with all of our belongings. I felt that I had to do something right away to earn some money, but I felt once I got into corporate America that to truly maximize my potential, I had to really work on it and build on it, which is why I started seminars while I was in corporate America on the weekend. So one of the things we've got to learn how to do is manage our feelings. Every entrepreneur has to learn how to do that, because you're going to run out of money. People are going to say no. People that you think are on your team are going to say, sorry, I can't do this. So understanding how to manage our feelings, developing emotional intelligence as entrepreneurs, as sales professionals, as whatever we are,
artists,
is key. And if we learn that early, we'll learn to respect our intuition, and that will be the guide that we need, the only guide we need to be successful. If we are pulled by stats and statistics and this idea that we are somehow less than, that's exactly where we're going to be.
I appreciate that a lot, but a lot easier said than done, right? A lot easier. So tell us, how exactly do we change those feelings? If you're saying the most important key to breaking out of it and making it is actually forcing yourself to feel as if it is possible, how practically do people do that?
You got to work on yourself. You've got to work on yourself. It's a good commercial now for my book, You Can Still Win. But
go ahead, repeat the title, people. He explains this in his book. Tell us the title.
I wrote this. I've written a number of books, but this is my signature book, You Can Still Win. Breakthrough, bounce back, come from behind, and flourish. Because that was what I heard. That hurt myself telling others all the time when they would ask me, well, I've got this problem, I've got that problem, I've got this thing has surfaced. And I would always say, you can still win.
Yeah.
And that's what I say to myself, because, listen, everybody talks about you can be anything you want. We hear that. You could turn on any TV program and watch someone successful interviewed, and they'll say, oh, my parents always told us you could be anything you want. You either believe it or you don't.
Sure.
So you've got to work on yourself to believe that. And every religion, every spiritual practice tells you that you need to go inside, work on yourself inside. Turn off the news. Don't turn off WBAI.
Keep it on WBAI. We beg you.
Turn off the news. Turn off all that stuff and work on yourself. That's what I had to do. It's what I do today. It's what I recommend my clients do. And it's what I believe is the key to really maximizing your potential.
Thank you so much. So now, 2 more questions. You've really blessed us with a lot of wisdom. First question is, What can we expect in the near future from you? So you're currently a business coach. You coach a number of entrepreneurs.
Mm-hmm.
You continue to make presentations. You're a speaker. What else can we expect from you in the near future?
I'm always working on new ideas to help my readers and audience and clients understand how to dissect this thing we call life.
Yeah.
And how to do a better job at it, and how to get at all the riches that are all around us.
The abundance all around.
There is abundance all around us, everywhere you look, and we should not be the only ones not to have it.
Absolutely.
So I'm working on a number of things. I'm working on some new keynotes. I'm working on some new books. You're going to hear a lot from me. You can go to andretaylor.com and you'll see a little bit of my schedule. You'll see my blog post, and be a great place to pick up that book. You can still win too.
Great. So please, because my second question was how exactly can they stay in touch? It seems like the best way is to go to your website. Please spell out the website for us, and we thank you for your time. Please spell it out.
andretaylor.com, ANDRETAYLOR.com. And I encourage everyone listening, get You Can Still Win. You know, sometimes I'm out and I'm speaking at conferences, and I'll put up my email address, and I'll say, make sure you contact me. Most people do not. Most people do not follow up. Most people buy books and don't read it. If you want to succeed, take action. Do what is required. And if you do that, you will become stronger and stronger. Your capabilities will become stronger. You'll see more, and then you'll be more.
Absolutely. That's a phenomenal way to end. You'll see more and you'll be more. That's what we all hope. Thank you again, Andre Taylor, for blessing us with your wisdom.
My
pleasure. Wish you the greatest success. Goodbye for now.
All right.
Thank you.